On the edge of the town, atop a lonely hill, stood an old mansion that had been abandoned for decades. Locals called it the House of Shadows, and over the years its legend had grown darker and more terrifying. People whispered about strange lights glowing inside the house at night and shapeless figures watching from the broken windows. Daphne, a young photographer, had always been fascinated by such stories. Her dream was to document an unforgettable tale of horror through her camera. One day, driven by her curiosity, she decided to visit the mansion. She convinced her friend Meat to join her. Although Meat was hesitant, he didn't want to let her go alone. They set out in the late afternoon, just before sunset. Armed with flashlights, a camera, and a few supplies, they reached the mansion's massive rusted door. Even touching the door's corroded surface sent shivers down their spines. Daphne pushed it open, and the door creaked loudly as it revealed the dark, musty interior. The mansion was far larger and more labyrinthine inside than it appeared from the outside. Cobwebs hung from the high ceilings, broken furniture littered the floors, and strange symbols were scratched into the crumbling walls. The eerie atmosphere only made Daphne more excited. She took out her camera and began snapping pictures of everything she found. As they wandered deeper into the house, Meat noticed something. At the end of a long, dim corridor, a door was slightly ajar, and faint whispers could be heard from the other side. "Maybe we shouldn't be here," Meat said nervously. But Daphne, her curiosity outweighing her fear, started walking toward the door. The closer they got, the clearer the whispers became. Male and female voices murmured together, though their words were unintelligible. Daphne reached for the door, but Meat grabbed her arm. "Wait, what if someone's actually in there?" he said. At that moment, the door slowly creaked open by itself. Inside was a dimly lit room. A chandelier hung from the ceiling, casting a weak, flickering light. Yet the room appeared empty. The whispers, however, continued, seeming to emanate from the very walls. Daphne, trembling slightly, raised her camera and took a picture. But as she clicked, her camera glitched, shutting off and restarting. On the screen, a tall, shadowy figure appeared standing in the center of the room. Daphne and Meat froze, turning to look at where the figure had been, but there was nothing there. Daphne, now visibly shaken, took another picture. This time, the figure appeared closer on the camera's screen. Meat grabbed her arm. "Daphne, we need to get out of here. Now!" he shouted. Suddenly, the door behind them slammed shut with a deafening thud. The whispers escalated into piercing screams. The chandelier above them broke loose from its chain and shattered on the floor. Panic-stricken, Daphne and Meat stared at each other. "What's happening to us?" Meat screamed, rushing to the door and trying to force it open. Then, from the far corner of the room, a shadow emerged. Humanoid in shape, yet entirely black, with no discernible features except for two glowing orbs where its eyes should have been. As it moved closer, the room's temperature dropped sharply. The whispers became a deafening hum, reverberating through their skulls. Daphne's camera slipped from her trembling hands and smashed on the floor. Meat tried to pull her toward the door, but the shadow cut them off, moving impossibly fast. "This is our home!" A deep, resonant voice echoed through the room. Daphne, on the verge of tears, stammered, "Who are you? What do you want?" The shadow didn't answer. Instead, it extended a dark, smoky hand toward them. The moment it touched them, the room was consumed by darkness, and they both lost consciousness. When Daphne opened her eyes, she found herself outside the mansion, lying on the grass. The sun had risen, but Meat was nowhere to be seen. "Meat! Meat!" she called out, but there was no response. Panicking, she ran back to the mansion, but the doors were locked tight. That's when she noticed her camera lying on the ground nearby, its screen cracked but still functional. She picked it up and flipped through the last photo she had taken. Her blood ran cold. In every photo, she and Meat were visible, but the shadowy figure was always near Meat, growing closer in each shot. In the final photo, the figure had completely enveloped him. Meat was never found again. Deefin never returned to the mansion, but she knew one thing for certain. The House of Shadows was not just haunted, it was alive, and it had claimed another soul.